Hey, welcome to my first video on the basics of drawing. How to draw. Drawing is fundamental. I'd like to be able to talk also during this. Anyway, the first video is going to be pretty simple, pretty much for beginners, anybody that hasn't been around art very much. Unless you're a seasoned veteran painter or something like that and forgot some of these things. But basically, I'm going to go through the graded pencils and selecting some pencils and ideas to think about as you're selecting these things. What I have here is an old set of Derwent. Derwent is a manufacturer, one of many. And Derwent is one of my favorite pencils when they're bonded in wood. I do like mechanical pencils and different lead varieties there. But the principles are the same on whether you use these store-bought pencils bonded in wood or mechanical pencils. The gradings are pretty much, the theory is the same. You can see here in this set it goes from 9H and you probably can't see on the video because of poor quality, but there's a slight shaded difference between each one of these different grades, and it goes from 9H down to 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and instead of 1 they just have an H. Then there's a grade F. Then we go into HB. HB is considered a middle grade. And then we go B, 2B, 3B, 4B, and as you go up in numbers all the way to 9B, the darkness of the lead gets darker. The higher the H number, the harder the lead, and the lighter the lines will be. So you can see by using all these different pencils, you could end up with different shades of gray. And we'll talk in another video about why not just press harder or lighter, because you get different qualities of gray in these. And these are primarily 9H through 9B are primarily used by draftsmen or draftspeople doing architectural drawings or technical drawings. But for artists, I'm going to tell you just to pick 3 or 4 leads. You might have to buy a set, and the set will usually go from HB up to 7, 8, or even 9, or they'll go from HB up to 9H or 7 or 8H, depending on the size of the set. Very rarely do you come across a set that has a few dark and a few light. So just remember, HB is like your number 2 yellow pencil. Okay? Now, I'm not sure if you can see them here, but I have 2 different types of sets, and what I'm going to do is my demonstration, and you'll see this is a 5H, an HB, and a 3H. So I have selected just 3 grades out of this range of 9 to 9. Now, I'm going to show you what that looks like, but these are Raffines, which are made in China. And these are Derwent, which are made in England. These black ones with the little red-orange accents. This is a 5H, and a 3H, and a 2H, and a B. I selected 4 of these so you could see something on the illustration. So whatever you decide, and pencils are inexpensive, you know, unless you're like really an individual that has to watch your money, you could probably buy 2 or 3 different brands and different sets and play with them. And you know, if you can afford it, I'd recommend you doing that. I mean, you could get a set of pencils for $3 to $6 and have 4 or 5 different grades out of that to use. So don't be shy. If you buy a set of pencils and you don't like them, try a different brand, because there is a little variation. All right, now, so we've talked about how they're graded, and for artwork and general purposes, we're saying pick 3 to 4 grades. try to make them separated. Now you notice here in this black I have 5H, 3H, 2H. 2 and 3 are only 1 grade apart. Now the reason for this illustration is to show you that for your artwork there's not much difference. But if we go from 5H and we used one of these two and then go to B, when I show you the illustration, you'll see that there's a larger difference and a larger difference in the shade and quality of the gray. Okay, so here we go. This right here is an illustration of the, so let's start with the Raphine. This is an illustration of the Raphine. The Raphine, like I said, is made in China. And what you can see just from this little illustration is I have made 3 boxes, not very scientific or boxed off or stay in the line sort of thing, but I've used the 5H. This is the 5H with just one layer like this. Then this is 2 layers with the same pencil. I went this way once, and then I went this way once. This is 3 layers. I went this way, and then at a diagonal. You'll notice that you can see already with a 5H, you can see how it gets a little darker with each layer. We'll talk about the quality of gray in a different video and why. But now we go down to the 3H. There's not a lot of difference here. There's a little bit of difference if you saw this in person, but there's not a lot of difference between this. There's not a lot of difference between this. But you see the HB, between this and this, there's 5 shades difference. So if you bought a 5H, an HB, and a 4B or a 6B, you would have very distinct different grades and shades, plus all these variations in between as you start to layer 1 or 2 layers of the same pencil on one another. So you can see this is a 3H, 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. HB, 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. Look at the difference here. There's a huge difference. Okay? Now let's take a look at the Derwent. And the Derwent, the 5H in the Derwent has a little darker shade. So this is kind of an important factor to know, that if you mix, if you buy a 5H and then an HB in a different manufacturer and a 4B in a different manufacturer, they're going to have different qualities. And even within the manufacturer, the reason I wanted to show you this 3H and 2H is this 2H should be darker than the 3H, but it's not. For some reason, when they manufactured this lead, it could have been on a different shift, it could have been on a different day, and the mix was different, because these pencils are not consistent. And you'll find that in every manufacturer. It's not just Derwent, even the Raphines. I have many Raphines that will have different shades because I bought many for students to use, and there'll be many different shades of the same 5H or the same 2H. They'll all be different shades because they were manufactured in a different batch. So do these exercises, and you will be able to, once you buy your pencils, and you'll be able to pick and choose which pencils you want to use and rubber band them and put them in a set. You can buy different manufacturers. You may find that, oh gee whiz, this pencil I'm holding is a Kimberly, which now is General Pencil Company, and it's an HB. I like this pencil, and I will use it in a different set other than these that I used for this illustration. So pencils are kind of a fun thing to play with, but no matter what you do, don't assume they're all the same. Take your time, map them out like this, label them, and figure out what combinations you like, how far you want these grades to go. Just like the Raphine, this Derwent, take a look at this B pencil. This is a B, single layered, 2 layered, and 3 layers. Take a look at the difference between it and this. The 5H is actually even a little darker than this. So it's really interesting that this 2H is so far apart from all these other grades. So the numbering, bottom line is, the numbering of these shades is a ballpark. And it will give you an idea, but you have to still do these exercises with layering and to test them to create a set that is going to work for you. Well, that's it. This is a long enough video. There's plenty here to practice. Practice layering, practice trying to keep the same pressure, and we'll talk in other videos about that and about the qualities of gray. All right. Thanks for being with me, and I hope you stay tuned for future videos as we get more into this and we start to do more refined drawing and techniques and little tricks that even the professional artists that are already skilled in a lot of these things and knowledgeable will have every sort of video you can imagine, and you'll be able to pick and choose what you need. All right. Till next time, bye-bye.